Hello, welcome to the Vineyard Church Podcast. For more information, visit us at vkcwest.com.
The book of Luke. Let's learn a little bit about the only Gentile writer of the New Testament. Some scholars argue this, but many agree Luke is described as a Gentile. Luke was not a Jew. Luke was Greek. He was well-schooled and well-trained in many disciplines of the day. He was a scholar, historian, and a doctor. He is the author of the book of Luke and the book of Acts, almost 30% of the New Testament. He was also a close friend and confidant of the Apostle Paul. Luke was not one of the original 12. He had a deep desire to be 100% accurate in his accounts of Jesus and the early church. Luke describes Jesus' coming as good news for the entire world, for people of every race, age, gender, ethnic group, and social standing. He wrote for the poor. He wrote for the sinner. He wrote for the despised Samaritans. Luke wrote for that ultimate outsider, the Gentile. And he wrote for women, too. This is first century culture where women were viewed as inferior. Luke tells us that Jesus elevated women to a position of dignity in God's kingdom. He mentions 13 women not found in the other Gospels. Elizabeth, Anna, Joanna, Susanna, the Mary and Martha stories in Luke 10. See, Luke turns the whole hierarchy on its head. He's letting us know that Jesus hung out with the wrong kind of people. Tax collectors, sinners, women of ill repute, the crippled and the possessed, the poor, the underdog. Luke gave us many parables of Jesus. 24 parables in the Gospel of Luke. Parable of the sower, the parable of the good Samaritan, the rich fool, and the watchful servants. Today, we'll focus on the prodigal son. It's a story that follows closely behind the parables of the lost sheep and the lost coin. I looked up the word prodigal, and here's the definition that I found. Prodigal, spending money and resources freely and recklessly, wastefully extravagant. Have you ever been wastefully extravagant? Not just with money, but with your life, the way you lived it. I know that I have. My own personal testimony follows closely to the prodigal son in more ways than I care to admit. Do you know what I identify with in this story? The brokenness. That is, until something happened to me that changed my life forever. No embellishment there. Changed my life forever. Let me give you another definition. A biblical definition of the word grace. Grace is defined as God's unmerited favor, love, and kindness, particularly in the context of forgiveness and salvation. Let's go through this story together. See how it relates to us today. This is Luke 15, verse 11 through 32. And remember, this is Jesus talking. His audience, the Pharisees, the scribes, tax collectors of the day. There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, "Father, give me my share of the estate." So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set out for a distant country, and there he squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in the whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, "How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? I will go back to my father and say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants.' So he got up and he went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, "Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son." But the father said to his servants, "Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." So they began to celebrate. Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked him what was going on. "Your brother has come," he replied, "and your father has killed the fattened calf because he has him back safe and sound." The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, "Look, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when the son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you kill the fattened calf for him." "My son," the father said, "you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad, because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." A pastor told me one time, he said, "Ed, if you can't tell a Bible story in your own words, then you don't understand the story." Man, that was music to my ears. I've got stories running through my head all the time. And they're usually in my own words, because I'm the only guy up there, usually. No, I know what he really meant. See, this is a story that I know. Here's this guy, this old man, he has this big spread, like a ranch or a farm. And he's a man of means. He owns land and cattle, and lots of servants too. He also has 2 sons who work the place with him. An older one, stoic, dutiful. And then there's this younger one, this young kid, this dreamy-eyed guy, wandering heart, sort of a free spirit type. I always thought that was me. And it sounds fun, romantic, but it really isn't. He just wants to get out on his own. He's tired of living with the feeling like he's wasting his life, slaving away to the old man. By the way, asking his father for his share now while he was still young, quite the insult. In Jewish culture of the day, it's like saying, "You are dead to me. Give me mine now, because I don't care what happens to you or anyone else." I mean, the kid wants to party, that's what it is. He doesn't want responsibilities. That's boring. He wants action. He's restless. He's itching, see, because he feels there's something more out there. Something better. Something he needs. I think he's looking for a way to feel better about himself. So let's get honest. I understand this guy because I was this guy. I was always looking for that next thing that would make me feel good, that would make me happy. I had applied for a job, and it was a well-paying job, and I'll be great at it. I deserve it. I'm going to get that job, and then everything's going to be okay. Well, I never got the job. A few years later, I remembered, I'm going to get that car that I wanted way back in high school, that muscle car. 67 Chevelle, black. Maybe blue. But if it's blue, it's got to be a 69. Everybody knows that. 67, black. 69, blue. I never got the car either. I got the black and the blue, though. Especially on the inside. Nobody sees it, but it hurts a lot worse. Brings us back to the younger son, the prodigal son. He's okay for a while. Wine, women, and song. He's a real popular guy, and until money runs out, then he's yesterday's news. He knows he'll be scrambling for a while, but he's not too worried yet. That's code, by the way, for he's not broken enough yet. I didn't say broke, I said broken. Big difference. So what happens now? A famine hits and our boy falls hard. Fast and hard. Life's got a way of doing that. I was having a cup of coffee with this old timer once, a good friend of mine, a man who had rode hard in his younger days. He looked up from his cup and he said, "Ed, when I was out there in the wind, if you'd have driven by my house, just driven by, you'd have thought that everything was just fine. Car in the driveway, the kids' bikes out in the yard, maybe a dog barking. But the truth is that if my truck would have had a flat tire, I'd have had to file for bankruptcy." Now that's the definition of barely hanging on. And the prodigal son goes there and way beyond. He's in a foreign country, broke, alone. You ever felt alone like that? I mean really alone? Like alone in a crowd type alone? I remember feeling like that all the time. There was a secret to life that I wasn't in on. I missed class that day in school when they taught you how to be happy, content. So I was always looking past that next bend in the road. The only thing I found was the next bottle that would take me to oblivion, where I didn't have to feel anything. You don't feel lonely and sorry for yourself when you're passed out on the floor. Look out the next morning, though, baby, because it all comes crashing down when you hear those morning birds singing and you know you're not living right. Those morning birds, man, it's like razor blades cutting through your skin. By the way, those morning birds are one of my most favorite sounds now. Yeah, I've made peace with them. So our boy gets a job. He persuades a local farmer to give him a job working the fields. So what's this guy do? He sends him out to feed the pigs. The prodigal son's Jewish. Pigs are not kosher, not by a long shot. They were considered unclean. To put a Jew down in the mud with the swine was the ultimate insult. And the son doesn't have anything to eat. Even now, the swill muck that these pigs are eating are starting to look good. He's on his own, too. Nobody's helping him. Desperate times calls for desperate measures. The son realizes the mistakes he has made. The Bible puts it like this: when he came to his senses. There's a painting entitled The Prodigal Son. It was painted by John McCallan Swain in 1888. And I looked at many different versions of the Prodigal Son painting. Some very beautiful, showing a father dressed in the finest clothing of the day, ornate robes, big pointed hats. But the one I liked was the one with the prodigal son in the field, still in the field with the pigs. His head's hanging down, arms clenched in a desperate prayer. He's out in the cold. The swine are rooting around in the mud right in front of him. The problem here is no one could have told him he would have ended up this way. He wouldn't have believed him anyway. He had money. He had youth. His whole life was ahead of him. And he ended up like this. He wasted the life that God gave him. And now he's having what alcoholics refer to as a moment of clarity. Do you know what it is? He's humbled. He's beaten down. Nowhere to turn. He's humbled by life and he repents. That's one thing I learned. You cannot outrun that man in the mirror. Son realizes how good he had it. Heck, even his father's servants had it better than he does. They have food, warm clothes. So he comes up with this little speech. He says to himself, "I will go back and say, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son." He's in a period of deep, deep shame, regret. I've lived it and I've seen it over and over again. I volunteered at a homeless shelter. It was years ago. I went every Thursday evening for almost a year. A good friend of mine was a counselor there, and he recruited me to come down and talk to the men who lived there. It was a shelter just for men, deep in the hood. I used to hear gunshots and sirens every time I drove down there. The truth is, when Thursday rolled around, I never wanted to go. It's a depressing place. But every time I left to go home, I felt a great sense of gratitude. I remember feeling good about at least trying to give back. Grateful for everything I had. It didn't always go so well, though. The counselor, he told me, he said, Eddie, when you have to be careful when you talk to these guys. Some of them have a real chip on their shoulder. Well, I asked him what he meant by that, and he said they don't want charity. They don't want sympathy. Least of all, they don't want your pity. Don't try to save them or even figure them out. Just talk to them. Ask them how they're doing. Let them talk if they will. I remember one night a guy came across the table at me. I challenged him about something about his kids, not seeing his kids, and he came at me. There was just so much anger there. Guilt, shame. Guilt and shame, that's not a good place to be for very long. You know what it is? We compare how we feel with how others look. But it's a false read every time. We're comparing our insides to their outsides, our messiness to their defenses. Galatians 1:10. Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. See, if my goal is to please God, I'm going to be okay. If I align my will with God's will, He will bless the work that I do. Over and over again, I've found that to be true. But if I want to please everybody in the room, the only certainty is that I'll be miserable. And the prodigal son's miserable. He's off the charts miserable. He's cold, hungry, he's sick, and he's sad. The only thing he knows to do is go humble himself before his father and ask for a job as a servant. And that's what he does. Racked with guilt and shame, the prodigal son is about to throw himself down to the mercy of the father for any menial job he can get. He's got that speech already. Father, I've sinned against heaven and you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. No longer worthy. See, this was the story for me for many years in the prodigal son. It was just all about the son, this kid. And that's fine that I felt that way. That's where I was at the time. But you know what I think now? This is where the story starts. Here's the beginning. Because what happens next is his father standing at the door of the house, arms crossed, looking all smug and superior. He's thinking, yeah, it took you long enough to come crawling back to me. I'll put you in your place now. Now you're going to get what you deserve. Now you're going to pay. But that's not what happens. Not even close. Here's the way it plays out in my mind, in my head. Father's in this house. He's alone at the dinner table. You know, I picture it's all stone. Stone wall, stone table, big old stone mug in front of him. It looks like the Flintstones house. I think of first century and everything's Flintstones. Anyway, he's about to take a bite of his dinner and he senses a commotion outside. He looks out the window. There's a dog running around. His eyes trail off to a distant road. He sees a bit of dust kicked up, and the father stands now and strains his eyes to see. He walks outside. A couple of field hands have straightened up and are looking too, a hand cupped over their eyes to fight the glare of the setting sun. And the father's thinking, is that what? Could that be? And his eyes well up with tears. He takes a step forward. 2 steps. And then he runs. I mean, he runs fast and hard. He's jumping over bushes and splashing across creeks. One commentary I read said, running was considered undignified for the family patriarch, but the father was filled with unbridled joy at the sight of his son. And then it's, yes, my son has come home. And the son barely gets out his little speech out. I mean, the father doesn't even hear it. He's all, bring the finest robe, put it on him, ring on his fingers, sandals on his feet, kill the fattened calf, prepare a feast. My son has come home. You know, the finest robe it would have been the father's robe. It affirms the son's role as an heir and cherished member of the family. And the ring was a symbol of authority, and like the robe, it indicates the son's status as a family member of great importance. How do you think the son feels now? He's standing there. He's got a robe on his back, ring on his finger, and they're preparing a feast. I like to think it's more love than he knew how to handle. What God can do and what God will do passes the knowledge of all human understanding. Can you forgive like that? I try to because I know I should, but I fall short, way short. I can do it with little kids. Isn't that funny? I remember I was wrestling with one of my grandsons once, and he hit me in the stomach. I mean, he clocked me hard. He was 3 years old, and he really got a good shot in, and it hurt. But I just laughed. I didn't get mad at all. If anything, I was probably proud of him. Nice shot, buddy. How could I blow that off so easily? 2 reasons. He's just a kid. He's just a little guy, innocent. I wonder if God looks at us that way. And I love him. I love him. There's nothing he could do then or now that would make me stop loving him. I'll always want the best for that boy, and I'll always protect him. Just hearing him laugh makes me happy. Hebrews 8:12. For I will forgive their wickedness and remember their sins no more. That's forgiveness. That's what the prodigal son experienced. His father loved him. And your father loves you. We take communion here at Vineyard West. The blood of Christ shed for us, all of us. If you have not asked Jesus for forgiveness, do it now. If you pray for him to come to you, he will. You see, before the father ran out to meet his son, the son had to walk the road back to him. That's what prayer is. Walking the road back to Jesus. Our story doesn't end there. It could, and it would be a great story, but it doesn't. There's another brother, this older brother who didn't leave home. A brother who didn't respect the old man. He did not disrespect the old man. He was dutiful. Here's how this plays out in my head anyway. This older brother, he's a serious guy, tall, broad-shouldered, probably got a cool beard, you know. And he's coming in from the fields after a hard day's work. And he sees all these people down by the house running around. And the older brother, he hears music. They got the grill fired up. The smoker's going. He looks at one of the field hands and he asks, "What's this? What's going on here?" Well, that field hand looks at the older brother and he's thinking, "Oh man, he's not gonna like this." He just looks off towards the house and he says, "Your brother, he's come home, and your father has killed the fattened calf because he has him back safe and sound." My brother, he thinks to himself. That skinny little kid who ran away? Left me here to do all the work, like I've always done? Well, this is insane. I'm not going down there. I want nothing to do with this. Well, the father sees this, and he goes up to talk with the older brother. He pleads with him to come down, enjoy the party. But the older brother has had it, man. He has had it. Some Christian writers liken the older brother to the Pharisees of the time. What about the law, Jesus? What about this one? What about that one? What does the law say? What about the law? The older brother's righteous, indignant. You know, there's a piece of me sometimes that's like, I don't blame him. Why should this kid get a pass? I never did. It's not fair. I worked hard for everything I have. I never asked for a handout. Well, forgiveness is not a handout. It's an act of love. And it's something we all need in our lives sooner or later. We got big forgiveness, small forgiveness, all kinds. And it never works if you keep score. If they owe you something, you have not forgiven. I've learned that. There's an old saying that says, do you want to be right or do you want to be free? There is one place where true freedom lies. So the older brother goes off on the old man. I've slaved away for years, never disobeyed your orders. Man, you never even gave me a young goat to celebrate with my friends. Now this son of yours comes waltzing in all burnt out, and you kill our best calf for a feast? No way. Well, the dad's like, man, don't you realize what's happening here? Your brother was dead to us, and now he's back. He's alive, and we must celebrate. The father goes on to tell him he hasn't lost anything. Everything you see is yours. It's all yours. Sure, the younger brother, he took off, blew all his money, ran hard, lost everything, but it broke him. He was broken. He was whipped. That's called the high cost of low living. And here the story does end, and we're left wondering, how does it turn out? Does the older brother come down, hug his brother, and they're all like one big happy family? And who are we in this story? Who are you? Are you the wise parent? The judgmental older brother? Or like the prodigal son, are you the one who needs forgiveness? Understanding, compassion, mercy, grace. Yeah, I've worked with a lot of men for over 25 years now. And I usually get them when they're down and out, low, deep. Addiction, divorce, jail. And invariably, it will get to a point where I invite them to church. And often, I get the same response. Oh, Eddie, geez, I'm not there yet. I'm not ready for that. I got to clean up let me get some things in order, clean up a little bit. Then you can talk to me about your God. Well, there's no getting ready. Jesus knows it all anyway. You know he's waiting? He's waiting for you. There's no wall to climb, no hoop to jump through. Jesus is waiting to celebrate your life with you. For me, it took praying the prayer of the brokenhearted, the broken spirit prayer. Do you know that prayer of the broken heart? Yeah, it's not, God, let this be a good day type prayer. It's not the, God, watch over me prayer. There's nothing wrong with those prayers. Those prayers are perfectly fine. But the broken-hearted prayer is a prayer you pray when you're at the end of your rope. There comes a time when you believe everything is lost. That will be the beginning. It's only 3 words, the broken heart prayer, and you can barely get them out. It takes the last bit of your strength to say them out loud. Do you know what they are? The 3 words? God, help me. What you really mean is, God, save me. And you're looking up. You're hoping he's there. You're hoping he's listening. And most of all, you hope that he cares. He does, cares, listens. I remember the day I prayed that prayer, and I prayed it out loud with a crackling voice through a tear-stained face. With the last bit of hope and faith that was inside of me, I prayed that prayer. You don't believe me? I can tell you the date, the exact date. October 24th, 1999, and I have not had a drink since that day. The last thing I expected and the last place I looked, he answered me. He answered me. Little Eddie, the kid on the playground who never got picked for the team, I just happened to be in the body of a 40-year-old man when I prayed it. And for the second time in my life, not since I was 8 years old, I knew that God loves me. I left the swine behind. What did Jesus do? He ran to me. He jumped over bushes and he splashed across creeks. He hugged me and he kissed me and he shouted, "My son has come home." You know why I can tell you that story today? My addiction to alcohol, the fact that I could never string together 2 sober days for years. How can I talk about it now? It's not because I'm brave, I assure you. Definitely not because I'm smart. There's only one reason I can tell you that story and not worry about what you think. It's because I'm free. It's because Jesus saved me just like he says he will do, and I am free. Left to my own accord, you know how I was living my life? A stranger showed up in my mirror, and Proverbs 11:29 came true. He who brings trouble into his own house inherits the wind. And it's not the good, clean wind. It's not the wind you want in your house. Jesus conquers fear. He overcomes our earthly weakness and he gives us strength. Armor, the armor of God. Ephesians says, "Be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power." Put on the full armor of God. When you experience the love of Christ, he draws you closer to him. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. My grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Have I not commanded? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. That's Philippians, Psalms, 2 Corinthians, Isaiah, Joshua. And it was written for me, and it was written for you. For God does love you so. He wants to know you. He wants to be in your life for you with love, understanding, compassion, mercy, and grace.
Thanks for listening this week. If you are looking for ways to serve, give, or get connected, go to vkcwest.com.